From Ticker Studios, this is the Property Playbook, presented by Hotspotting.
Are Australian families changing faster than the homes we're building for them? I'm Tim Graham, and the Property Playbook starts now. This week, millions of Australians will take part in the census, giving us our most comprehensive snapshot of how the country is changing. And for those changes, there could be big implications for housing. We're having fewer children, living longer, struggling with affordability, and increasingly reconsidering what the traditional family home might look like. Joining me to discuss the future of Australian families and what it may mean for property is Geoff Brailey from McCrindle. Geoff, how are you?
Very well, thank you, and exciting times as we talk property and people. It's a great topic, so thanks for having me.
Mate, in your line of work, this is like waiting for the Olympics, the big census week, isn't it?
It is, and you might even say it's a rarer event than the Olympics, which is every 4 years, or
exactly.
The Cups of the world there every 4 years. The census in Australia is every 5 years, and we're lucky to get it that frequent. Some countries only do it once every 10 years. So Australians who've just filled in their census, this is a rare moment and great data collection happening.
We're the lucky ones. Geoff, before we dive into questions, could you just tell us a little bit about McCrindle?
Yeah, we love bringing data to life, and we love to empower human flourishing with that data. So anything that's about understanding human behavior, the decision-making process, the thoughts, the fears, the hopes we have, and the behaviors, how we live as individuals in our families, in our communities, and our cities is really the topics that we love to explore. And so we're a social research agency that loves doing demographic analysis, research design, and a lot of presentations at events and media.
Yeah, terrific. Well, let's start with the big picture. How different will the Australian household of the future look than the one we maybe grew up with?
Yeah, absolutely. The home of today will be different to the home that we've had in yesteryear. And so the home today increasingly shifting towards apartment living from those detached dwellings. That traditional Australian dream of owning the quarter-acre block has faded, and it's faded for a number of reasons. Affordability is one, but the desire for simplicity is another, that people are looking for that low-time investment in maintaining a block, as we have double-income families to both secure the house, but also provide in these cost-of-living times. We need two incomes to make families function. And so the home of the future will be technologically driven. It will be lifestyle-oriented, as well as probably a little bit smaller if we're having fewer children as well. So those smaller apartments and detached homes, terraces and townhouses will become increasingly popular in the future.
Yeah. And we're obviously, having fewer children, but I suppose considerably living longer as well. So how is that changing the way that Australians actually need to build their homes?
Yeah, that's right. And you think of the homes baby boomers might have grown up with, homes their parents might have built themselves in that post-World War II era, and then they've sort of graduated up the rungs of the property ladder into those larger homes in their lifetime. But as they live longer and towards their 70s, 80s, even 90s, the type of home that Australians will need, yes, they might want a little bit of technology, but it's more about the accessibility, the safety, and I think as we age, and then sadly often we see in Australian community that as people get older, they're actually more isolated. And so the home of the future, I think, needs to factor in, where does community fit for an aging population who have less mobility? And so those shared homes or apartments that give a sense of community, or those multi-generational dwellings, will become a greater opportunity, I think, in the Australian market as we live longer, have fewer children, and want to spend time with loved ones as well. So I think we'll see the home of the future look quite different.
Yeah, it's interesting, Joko. At Hotspotting, we've been reporting on the fact that units have been attracting a lot more demand than maybe they had historically. And the old adage was that if you wanted capital growth in real estate, you needed to buy the largest parcel of land you could afford and build a big house on that. But that's changing. So many different cohorts of people are choosing to live in, attached dwellings for all of those reasons you've mentioned. We don't seem to be, that infatuated with having a big backyard to kick the football, because most of the locations where these places are being built, you've got a park at the end of the street.
That's right. I think the need for green spaces is still important, but can we use that green space more effectively across those master planned communities, well designed, not just communities, but cities that give that accessible green and blue space? I think people love the Australian lifestyle is revolved around water, play, and so creating those opportunities for mental health and well-being in the outdoors, but it's a community experience people want as well. And so I think as we share those facilities and celebrate together that great outdoor Australian lifestyle, Do we need to own it in our own backyard? Well, some parents might be saying, yes, that's a priority for safety. But I think as we live longer, we learn that there's actually benefits in that community. And as parents with 3 young kids, I love getting out to the local park where you actually get kids playing together with other kids. I think there are some great advantages in being part of a bigger community than just your own little private space.
And probably a little bit safer than kicking the footy on the street like I grew up. We don't see that too often anymore.
Oh, I think those quiet cul-de-sacs are rarer and rarer. And playing out on the streets like 80s kids in with our BMXs or footies, it's a different type of play even. I think that's a change in our behaviours as we are seeing those digital screen ages. Yeah. And don't we all love online entertainment, whether it's watching shows on the streaming platforms or on our devices? We are more digitally wired for entertainment, but I think those physical spaces are still a huge priority for well-being in our community.
Yeah. Well, obviously with the census happening this week, what sort of demographic trends will you be watching most closely from a housing perspective?
Yeah, I think central to housing is where we actually go for work. Do we still hop on a train, a ferry, or ride a bike? Or this year you could even tick the box an e-bike to work. Or are we increasingly working from home? And so being able to see that commute pattern will be one of the key data points I'll be looking at, as well as things like the cultural identity of Australia, who we are and the stories that matter, the values that matter for each cultural group will be an area I'm really keen to dive into as we see this shift from what was the key predominant migration sort of story of the 20th century, which was European migration. We're in a century of Asian migration, and Australia is positioned in the population epicenter of the world with some of the world's largest populations just on our doorstep. So here we are with a changing cultural composition and the values and the identity that a cultural melting pot of different communities experiences really does shape the houses and the types of communities we want to live in, the way we use our homes. So are we increasingly becoming academic and sort of mind focused, or are we looking for those community gatherings, religious or social or traditional ancestral kind of gatherings that are really cultural kind of identity markers that really matter? So as we see that rise in our Asian community in Australia, particularly the Chinese and increasingly the Indian and the Nepalese communities, that was big last census. We'll be curious to see what key areas of our cultural identity are changing in this latest data.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, home ownership has traditionally been central to the Australian dream. With affordability becoming so increasingly challenging, is that dream changing, or people simply changing the way they have to achieve it?
Yeah, this is the big topic, I think, right now, that there's been some policy moves to try and make housing more affordable. The big challenge, I think, in Australia is really designed that people need 2 incomes to access property. And often there's the role of the bank of mum and dad helping, or the bank of nan and pop increasingly. Yeah. But I think people are just shifting what their first home looks like. And if we go back to the baby boomers again on their first home, it's very different to the home they might be in now, or they might live in the future. It might have had an outhouse, a toilet not even connected to the home. And so where baby boomers started their property journey, it's really important to reflect on the differences of where they are at right now. And I think for today's homeowners or aspiring homeowners, they shouldn't try and start their property journey where baby boomers are finishing their property journey. They might need to take that little bit more of a lower price point and maybe less desirable area just to get a foot on the property ladder. And so that might mean an apartment. It might mean a out of fringe area just to get started. And over the years and decades, as people pay down debt and increase income, go through those family forming, norming and storming years, and then can actually increase income again once they're back into a double income sort of stage of life. I think that's where we'll see that home ownership journey look quite different for different newer generations, as young people today maybe need to be a bit more creative and own a place, but get a few renters in there with them, a few flatmates to make the numbers stack up. So I think property is going to change as people look for buying in this challenging era where affordability is high, like a real high point of pressure.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about having extra people living under the same roof to sort of help with the affordability, but one of the trends that I'm sure we're going to see in this latest census is the rise of multigenerational living. Are we likely to see more parents, children, grandparents all living under the same roof again?
Yeah, I absolutely think we are. And I think this is part of that longevity boom that we are living in, that we see people who are living longer looking for community and connection, and they're actually looking for support from their children looking for that interaction with their grandchildren. And Australians, I think, for the financial reasons, are considering, and we've got a study that shows people are open to it. 3 in 5 have considered that multi-generational living. And so people have considered it. What are going to be the factors that kind of actually make it happen is quite an interesting one, because privacy, you can appreciate. A grandparent might think, I don't want to move in with grandkids, that's too noisy or chaotic.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many other benefits. I mean, whether it's childcare or caring for the aged parents, and you know, reducing isolation, as you mentioned, being a big problem for the elderly at the moment too.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's where those barriers, there's got to be a bit of a sweetener to make it work. And it could be the sense of community, it could be the sense of financial progress, that there's actually an advantage in multi-generational living. If you can get more people under the one roof paying that same rent or mortgage, that's going to be a huge help for people. So I think those advantages are starting to stack up and make it a bit more positively focused towards multi-generational living. And that isolation, I think, is the underlying issue as well, that we're I think, seeing that trend, that even though in Australia there is a trend towards fewer people per dwelling, I thought in the 2021 data there would be a rise in the number of people per household, but we saw it go from 2.6 people down to 2.5 people per household. But as property prices have increased, that will be one of those first data points I'll be going to check. Has there been a shift, a levelling out or a dialing up even of those in our households across Australia? And across those 10 to 11 million households, if we see that slight rise, it will mean we're a little bit more advantaged when it comes to those cost of household pressures that a lot of Australians are facing.
Yeah. Well, Geoff, I could talk to you about this all day, and we could really nerd out on this, but they're going to give us the wind up shortly. I've probably got time for one more question. I'm just curious, with the demographics, and they're changing this significantly, are we really building the right types of homes in Australia for what the needs are going to be into the future?
Yeah, it's a great question, Tim. What does that house of the future look like? And is it the right design for the changing demographics of Australia? We've got a shifting population that's aging. And so does it have those accessible, safe, really warm community places where people in those latter stages of life can find connection and community? And I think as we've got this young population as well, with people having fewer children, that ability to focus and really provide maximum lifestyle opportunities for a younger generation is where I think we'll see those smarter homes emerging, where people are looking for those technological advantages as they raise kids and get AI being that extra helper in the home, making life simpler, whether it's from meal prep to food delivery to drone delivery in the future. I think we're going to see a huge technological shift in the next decade ahead. There's some massive demographic shifts happening right now that home builders today need to be preparing so that that property is going to be enduring and highly valuable and desirable for the decades ahead.
Yeah, so it's going to certainly be interesting insights that we'll see in, 12 months' time. But Geoff Brailey from McCrindle, thank you so much for your time. Let's do it again sometime soon.
Thanks so much, Tim.
Thanks so much.
You're watching the Property Playbook, presented by Hotspotting. For more, visit hotspotting.com.au.